"Miss Smith, you're pregnant." The doctor's words were like a thunderclap in Nora Smith's ears. What? How could this be? Nora was 19 years old and engaged to be married, but she had never been intimate with a man. But the doctor handed her the medical report so she could see for herself. "You're already well along in your pregnancy. You're not in good health, so I'm afraid an abortion would be too risky for you. Your only option at this point is to give birth to the child." Nora returned home in a daze. After her father gave her a stern lecture, he searched the surveillance cameras for evidence. But all he found was that 4 months ago, Nora had indeed stayed home for a couple of weeks because she hadn't been feeling well. She hadn't gone out at all. Outsiders didn't believe it. Everyone secretly mocked her. Her belly is already so big, but she's still giving excuses and saying that she didn't go off and see some man. Poor Anthony Gray, being engaged to a woman like that. I feel bad for him and his family. After weeks of the speculation flying around, Anthony Gray finally paid the Smiths a visit. He sat down with Nora and her father in the study. By that time, Nora's belly was already bulging. 8 months into her pregnancy, her belly was so big she couldn't see her toes when she looked down. Nora's father asked cautiously, "Anthony, are you thinking of breaking off the engagement?" But Anthony's answer surprised him. "No, my grandfather wouldn't allow it." The Greys were rich and powerful, with a social standing far above anything the Smiths could dream of. No one would blame them for taking this opportunity to break things off. The more Anthony thought about it, the angrier he became. "I already can't stand the sight of her pig-like face. Now she's pregnant with some other man's child. Why should I have to take responsibility for her screw-up? I'm not interested in being a hero." Immediately, Nora's father said, "Anthony, don't worry. I'll send the baby away as soon as she gives birth." Nora, who had kept quiet this whole time, suddenly raised her head. No. The child was innocent. She had decided she couldn't abandon it. She wanted to cancel the engagement too. At that exact moment, Nora suddenly felt waves of pain and convulsions in her abdomen. "This is it," she thought with alarm. "I'm going into labor." 5 years later, Nora was awakened from a nap by the sound of a crisp, chirpy voice. "Mommy, wake up, the plane is landing." Nora opened her eyes to see a young, delicate, adorable little face. Cherry Smith's large eyes blinked, and she rested her chin on her hands. "Mommy, why did we come back to the States this time? Are we looking for Daddy?" Nora stretched and sat up lazily. She said lightly, "You don't have a father." Cherry sighed like an adult. "I don't believe you. I'm not a 3-year-old anymore. Of course I have a dad. Everyone has one, right?" Nora didn't reply. She just sighed as she tied up her shoulder-length hair. Her fair skin and sharp, pert nose, coupled with her rosy lips and graceful figure, made her a beautiful sight on the plane. Cherry continued to mumble with dissatisfaction. "If we aren't looking for Daddy, then are we looking for my big brother?" Big brother. A cold glint flashed across Nora's downcast, almond-shaped eyes. 5 years ago, she had actually given birth to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. But Nora's father had ignored her wishes and tried to take the 2 children away. She had fought with everything she had to try and stop him, even while she was still confined to the delivery bed. In spite of her struggle, she had only managed to save Cherry. As far as anyone else knew, she was returning to the States now because the Greys had finally agreed to call off her engagement to Anthony. She was simply there to sign the papers and wrap up the details. But Nora's real mission, the most important thing, was to find her other child. Half an hour later, the plane came to a complete stop. As soon as she turned on her cell phone, it began to ring. "Athena," the person said, using the name Nora had chosen for work. "You have to be careful." Nora asked casually, "Why?" "Justin Hunt is on a global hunt for your personal information. Do you know how well connected he and his family are? He's not going to give up until he finds you." The voice sounded a little like its owner was gloating. "Oh," was all Nora could think to reply. "Athena, you were overseas before, so you weren't in his territory. But now that you're back, you won't be able to escape anymore. You're the most prestigious surgeon around. Can't you just treat his grandmother and get it over with?" I've heard Justin is a very generous and very handsome man. Wouldn't it be great if you two got swept up in a big, dramatic, scandalous affair? Nora knew that taking on a Hunt as a patient might get her dragged into a struggle for power and inheritance. She had come back to the US to look for her son. She couldn't get involved in any complications. As she approached the exit, Nora spotted a familiar figure in the arrivals area. A man stood at a prominent spot at the exit of the airport. He looked a little more mature than he had 5 years ago, but he hadn't changed all that much. There he was, her fiancé, Anthony Gray. With a pickup placard in his hand and a big smile fixed on his face, he stood impatiently and grumbled, "When exactly is that damned woman coming out? She was a mess before, she must look even worse now. I bet she'll want to save the engagement even more now, right? How did I get stuck with someone like her?" Nora heard every horrible thing he said, but she didn't bat an eye. She couldn't be bothered to pay any attention to that man. She planned to leave immediately with Cherry. After he finished his grumbling, Anthony turned, and his eyes lit up. A beautiful woman was walking toward him. She was gorgeous, unbelievably stunning. As the woman drew closer and closer, Anthony straightened his back and neatened his luxury suit. Then he smiled and asked confidently, "Hey beautiful, may I ask your name?" Nora thought, "He looks just like a peacock with its train spread open." She paused and looked at him coolly. Nora Smith.
How will Anthony react to this? Can Nora manage to keep her true identity hidden from Justin Hunt? To find out, download the Pocket FM app now. Link in the description. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more gripping stories.